Today's DDM workshop topic is email templates. DDM has the ability to send email notifications. Those notifications are based on standard email templates based on what we install out of the box, but they are configurable templates, or you can certainly modify them. I'd like to start by just covering the topics here. We're going to look at the basic admin email settings, default templates, how you can make templates folder specific, i.e. business process specific, and also multi-factor authentication email template and web prompt. So I'm in DDM Office. I don't need to go to the server. I can access the DDM administration through the Office client. I'm going to log into the DDM administration, okay, and while I do that, we're just going to set this first task. Let me just hop back to in progress. So we're going to talk about the basic settings. So for anybody who's not familiar with it, inside the admin tool under system email, this is where you put in your server settings for your email. There is an option here that if you have a different web address for the internal access to the DDM web or a public domain for the DDM web client. Let me show you what I mean by that. In the notifications, that's not what I'm looking for at all. Let me just close that out. With that, I have email opened. So in all of the email notifications, by default, there is a link here to internal login or public login. So this will either take you to DDM on your local area network, and based on the configuration within the admin client, you can enter your own domain or URL to access the web client outside of your firewall. That needs to be configured by your IT department. Okay. There's 4 other options here with emails. Is the frequency of checking for new emails to send, mine set at 60 seconds, so every minute. The maximum number of send to email addresses. The reason for these options is some people's email servers will detect what they perceive to be spam. So they put limits on the number of send to email addresses. You can also set the delay between each email send, and you can also limit the batch quantity of emails to send at any one time. So these options in the bottom of the screen here are so that you can configure the sending of emails from DDM relative to whatever the rules are within your mail server. Okay. There's a button at the bottom here that if there are any emails that are queued up in the system, you can click on a button and send them from here. Okay, so that is the first topic, nice and simple. The second topic is the default templates. If I just set this to in progress. In the same area of the admin tool under system email, I'm going to close the top here. We have email templates. So these are the standard HTML templates that we supply out of the box. If I pick on the example of, let me just have a look here, workflow step recipient step. So this email template, okay, if I go to DDM and I'm going to go to a change order in my system, I'm going to pick on this change order that currently is owned by John Herstick. I'm going to take ownership of this change order. Okay, so I'm just going to take ownership of it. So I am now the owner, which means I can send in the workflow, I'm going to return this to John Herstick and say, you know, hi John, this is my comment that will appear in the email. And I'm going to say, okay. So because I've now sent the workflow to John, he should get an email notification, and it should be based on whatever my current default template has been configured to. Now, while we wait for that email to arrive, I want to show you another example here that I've got an email notification here based on our standard template. And this is probably what you will see out of the box. So pretty generically, it says DDM notification, folder center, step in workflow, and this is the folder ID here. We've included a couple of the attributes like the number, the title, etc. in here. And the bottom half of the screen here, and there's those hyperlinks for internal or external access to this particular change order. The bottom part here is the audit trail from this particular workflow. And the comment that I made appears in this table here. So if you look where I'm highlighting, the user comments are in the table. Now, I think this is a bad place for it to be, and I think it's pretty useless. So I've changed we should change the default template, but I've changed my template. So if I look at the email above now, what I've done is that comment that I made as the user sending the email, I put the comment at the top of the screen here. Okay, and I'll show you how to edit these templates as we move forward. So, you know, I think there's good reason why people will want to modify these templates, want to simplify them, but also to make them a little bit easier to read. Okay, send and receive email. Now, I have lots of email accounts set up in my mail server because I do lots of testing on this machine. Okay, if I go to John Herstick's email, here I've got the notification here, workflow notification for change order here, and this is the comment that I made. So you can see here I've simplified the email template because I don't see that it's necessary to include all of the audit trail. Clearly that is your choice. What I'd like to do is when we go to modifying the template, at the moment we only get what is the change request. I want to have more fields in here so that the email recipient gets a little bit more information about it in the email. You'll also see that I've changed the web login so it sits on a single line, and I've changed the footer information here as well. If I go back to my original that I was showing you, we see here that this is on two separate lines, and we've got the whole audit trail in the bottom of the screen. So a much simplified version so people can focus on what it is they need to see, like this. As I said, these links, if I do an internal login, this will take me to the prompt to log into DDM. I think I've just realized that I'm logged in as somebody different. And it will take me straight into the change order that was part of that notification. So let me come out of here a second, and I will log out as Stuart. Okay, I need to just check that I'm logged in. No, I'm currently logged in as the wrong person. So let me just exit from DDM, and I'm going to restart DDM Office Client and log in as Stuart McBurney. It's my real name, just in case people wonder why I'm doing that. Okay, password. So I'll log in. Okay. So go back to our workshop. This workshop, and what we've just been looking at is the default templates. They contain most of the basic, and they're very generic information. The next thing I want to talk about is the ability to modify the default templates. So I'll set this to complete, and we're going to pick on the example of a change order. Okay, so set that to in progress. Now, if I look at this workflow notification step recipient by step, well, if I'm just looking at the email here, how do I know which template this email is using in order that I can understand which one I want to modify. If you right click and view the source of this email, inside the header, you can see here that that is the DDM template that we're using. Workflow notification, step recipient by step. Okay, so I know which template I want to modify. I'm going to close this, go back to the admin tool, because I could modify the standard template that is used for all workflow notifications. So before you start making any changes, I would take a copy of the original workflow template, and you can do that by exporting the template, and I'm going to just put them on my desktop for now, but you could put them now. So I've taken a copy of the master file. If I was modifying the master template, I would probably take a physical copy of it and call it original, just so that if I make a mistake, I can roll back and re-import the original. So the first change I'm going to make, I'm going to edit this with Notepad++. It's a nice HTML editor. The only thing I want to change on this is change the tagline. Securing your investment in design. Well, Darren, sales manager, and Sandra decided we were going to change the tagline a little while ago, and we're going to change it to product data and management. All I'm doing is changing this template. And we'll get more into the details of what's showing on the screen, but it's an easy one for me to pick on because I know it's just that text at the bottom. I'm going to save my template. I'm going to close it. So if I go back to DDM administration, I can now import the template. Now, what's important here is I'm now going to overwrite the original template. So the change that I'm making is a generic change, but keep your backup copy just in case. If I now re-import this from the desktop, keeping my original in the background, I've now re-imported that. So if we go through that process once more, we're going to go to our change order, select the change order. I'm going to take control of it so I can send it back to John Herstick. So this action is what's triggering the email notification, sending it to John, and my comment again, hi John, how you doing? La-di-da-di-da. Okay, so we should get a new email notification, and the new one, the only change should be what we see in the bottom, securing your investment in design. Hit this change here, if I've done it correctly, that is. Okay, here's our new email, and the new email says product data and lifecycle management. So a very simple change, but if you're starting to edit your email templates, go slowly and change these things one at a time. Okay, so change it, check it, always keep the original in the background. Now, a reason as to why you might want to make an email template folder specific, which I think is very useful, is if we take the example of a change order, what I'd like to see in this email is the change request and the change reason. Well, change reason doesn't apply to other folder types other than change orders. So if I go back to my email template, this particular template, and it can be done on any of the templates, I want to make this folder specific. So I choose that as an option. It will look at my folder templates, and it will present me with a dialogue, he says confidently. Is it on another screen somewhere? There. Here, I can say I want to create a change order specific template. So now what I have is my default template, and this one is specific for change orders. Okay, well, I know that I've already got the generic one loaded in the background on my desktop, but what I could do here is, just to be belt and braces, export this to the desktop. Okay, I'm going to go back here, and now what I have, one of these is, if I hover, does it tell me? This is my change order specific. Okay, I'm going to select it, Control C, Control V, and I'm going to keep this as my original. In case I need to roll back. So this one, I want to open inside Notepad. We've got the change we made earlier because we've copied that from the default. What we have in here is, this is in HTML format. If you're not familiar with HTML, you've got basically opening and closing tags for various things. Here we've got a table, okay, and in the table we have a number of rows. The TR is a row, TD is table data. So here we've got a row that has two columns because there are two TDs in here. Okay, what I'd like to do is I'm going to add another row to my email template. So it's pretty easy to understand. That is a whole row. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste underneath that, because what I want to do is, because this is now folder specific, I'm going to change the label and call this change request, and this attribute is the change reason. Okay, now here the DDM folder attribute is called fol desk because I copied it down from the one above. But I want this to be the attribute that we use in DDM for the change reason. I go back to the admin tool and I go to my folder type templates, folder types for change orders here. If I go into edit mode for this folder type, go to the attributes and look for the change reason attribute. If I double click on the label, I can see that this attribute is called fol_comments. So it's the table name that you need, not the label. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. I can come out of here, not changing anything. And then I can go to here because I want to change fol desk for fol comments. Okay, so that's the change I want to make. I'm not going to make too many changes at one go. It's just an example. I'm going to save the template, close out of the template. I'm going to go back to my email templates area, choose the change order specific email here, and then to import, because I want to bring in this modified version of the file, and we say OK. So if that has been done correctly, I'm again going to take ownership of this change order to test, and then I'm going to resend the change order back to John Herstick. Okay, and put, let's do it properly. Hi John, please can you add additional information from Joe? So this is just to test it because we're forcing the sending of an email. If I go back to Outlook, we should get an email coming through. I'm going to do send and receive to force that through. Right, so I've had my new email. If I select my email now, we can see now here, we see the change request and the change reason. So we now have two attributes in here that are specific to a change order type email. So a good example of why you might want to make folder specific email templates. I just want to jump back to here to relook at this HTML. So, you know, HTML is an ASCII based language for, it's not really even programming, it's basically for configuring things. It's pretty easy to understand. You can read it. If you take the time to look at it, you can actually read it. That's the header information that fits in the title of the workflow. This action comments is the comments that would previously be in the audit trail on that big table that I showed you. So we can see how to find the information from the default templates. Other than that, you can pick attributes from the folders in the database against the folder templates. So I'm going to close this out. I don't need all of this stuff, so I'm going to remove it from my desktop. We're going to go back into DDM, go back to our workshop. So that is an introduction on how to modify email templates and how to make them folder specific. So let me just close that off. That's been completed. The next one is multi-factor authentication email templates and the web prompt. In the email templates, there is a MFA authentication instructions. So this is the email that a user will receive if you've sent them a multi-factor authentication. Do I have one here? This is the example, hi, and then that's the user's name that would automatically be populated. A sign-in attempt requires further verification. To complete the sign-in, enter the verification code, etc., etc. You can format this yourself. You might put some additional information in. Okay, so this is the email template. What you also have the ability to do, if we look under web client, under admin system web client, there's an area for multi-factor authentication. The other thing that's configurable here is the prompt that is displayed to the user when they log into the web client. Please enter the 6-digit authentication that has been emailed to you. So if we go to the web client, and this time we log in as a supplier who needs multi-factor authentication, this is the comment here that you can control at an admin level. So the prompt that the user sees when they log into the web if they require multi-factor authentication. Okay, so let me hop back to DDM. I'm going to close that off as complete. So just to recap, basic admin settings for your email server, default templates, how to make folder specific templates, how to edit them, and also the multi-factor authentication email template and the web prompt when a user logs into DDM Web.